The laughter hit before the envelope did. It tore across the marble lobby, sharp and careless, echoing off glass walls and polished steel. Someone dropped a folder at his feet. Papers slid across the floor like surrender flags. "Try reading next time," a voice said, loud enough for everyone to hear. He bent down anyway. Shoes circled him. Clean shoes. Expensive shoes. People who didn't look at the floor because they'd never had to. A hand nudged the side of his shoulder. Not hard, just enough to remind him where he stood in the room. "You lost, man?" another voice asked. "This isn't a shelter." The security gate behind him buzzed. Red light. Locked. He straightened slowly, holding the envelope now creased in his fist. His jacket hung wrong on his shoulders, too thin, too worn. Someone sniffed the air dramatically. "You smell like the bus station." More laughter. Across the lobby, a line of candidates waited in press suits, faces tight with anticipation. They avoided looking at him, as if poverty were contagious. A woman near the desk whispered something to her friend, and both of them glanced over, smiling. The receptionist didn't look up. She tapped at her screen, annoyed. "Sir," she said, still not looking, "this floor is invitation only." "I know," he said. His voice was steady. Too steady. That made someone laugh harder. "You know," a man in a charcoal suit repeated. "Then you're even dumber than you look." A security guard stepped forward. Big. Professional. Bored. "You need to leave," the guard said. "Now." The envelope shook slightly in his hand. Inside it was a single page. He hadn't opened it yet. The guard reached for his arm. Fingers brushed fabric. That was when the elevator chimed. A private elevator. The kind that didn't stop on most floors. The kind that required keys, codes, and permission most people in the building would never have. Everyone turned. The doors slid open with a soft mechanical sigh. A man stepped out. Older. Controlled. His posture carried weight without effort. The lobby shifted around him, attention bending in his direction like gravity had changed. The laughter died. The receptionist looked up so fast she nearly knocked over her chair. "Sir," she began, already standing. The man raised a hand. His eyes moved across the room, taking everything in. The scattered papers. The guard's hand on a stranger's arm. The thin jacket. The envelope. He stopped. For one brief second, his expression changed. Not shock. Recognition. The guard felt it before he understood it. Something in the air tightened. He released his grip instinctively and took half a step back. The older man walked forward. Each step echoed. Slow. Deliberate. No one spoke. The man stopped in front of him, looked him up and down, took in the scuffed shoes, the tired eyes, the envelope clenched like a lifeline. Then his gaze dropped to the seal on the envelope. The color drained from his face. "Where did you get that?" the man asked. Silence pressed in from every side. "He probably stole it," someone muttered from behind. The older man didn't look away. "I asked you," he said quietly. He swallowed. "It was mailed to me." The room exhaled in disbelief. "That's impossible," the receptionist said, too fast. "Those documents are private," the man finished. His voice cut her off cleanly. He reached out, not to take the envelope, just close enough to confirm what he already knew. The seal was intact, untouched, unopened. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Confusion, annoyance, fear trying to pretend it wasn't there. The man in the charcoal suit laughed again, but it sounded wrong this time. "Come on," he said. "This is a joke, right? He's nobody." The older man turned. One look silenced him. "You don't know who he is," the man said. "That's your mistake." The guard straightened, suddenly unsure of where to stand. The receptionist's fingers trembled on the desk. The older man faced him again. "Have you read it?" he asked. He shook his head once. "No." The man closed his eyes briefly, as if bracing himself. Then he nodded toward the elevator. "Open it," he said. "In here." Gasps. Protests. Whispers exploded all at once. "You can't be serious. That elevator is restricted. He doesn't belong." The man raised his hand again. Everything stopped. He turned back to him, voice low. Do you have any idea what you're holding? He looked down at the envelope, then back up. No, he said. The older man studied him, something unreadable behind his eyes. Then tell me, he said slowly, are you ready to find out why everyone in this room should be standing instead of laughing? The doors slid shut behind them with a muted thud. The lobby noise vanished instantly, replaced by a tight, humming silence. The elevator began to rise smooth and fast, numbers blinking past floors most people never knew existed. He stood near the wall, envelope still in his hand. The older man stood opposite him, hands clasped behind his back, eyes forward. Neither spoke. The quiet stretched long enough to feel intentional. You could have opened it, the man said at last, still not looking at him. Most people would have. He watched the numbers climb. I didn't think it was meant for me, he said. That earned a glance. Brief. Sharp. Why not? He shrugged. Things like that don't usually find people like me. The elevator continued upward. For a moment, the man studied his reflection in the polished metal walls. How he stood too carefully, as if making himself small were a habit. How his shoulders stayed tense even when no one was touching him. People like you, the man repeated. And what does that mean? It means broke, he said simply. It means invisible. The elevator slowed. A soft chime. The doors opened onto a floor that didn't look like an office. No cubicles. No desks. Just open space, dark wood, floor-to-ceiling windows, and a city spread out below like something owned. The man gestured him inside. He stepped out cautiously. The doors closed behind them again, sealing them in. Sit, the man said, pointing to a chair near a long table. He didn't sit. He held the envelope tighter. The man noticed. Afraid it'll disappear? He asked. He hesitated. Afraid he'll say, I don't belong here. The man didn't answer that. Instead, he walked to the window, looking out over the city. From this height, cars were dots. People were ideas. Do you know why you were mocked downstairs? The man asked. He shook his head. They didn't know me. That's not it, the man said. They decided you weren't worth knowing. That's different. He turned back. People protect their comfort fiercely. Anything that threatens the story they tell themselves becomes a joke. Or a problem. He finally sat. Open it, the man said again. His fingers slid under the seal. For the first time since the laughter started, his hands hesitated. What if it's a mistake? He asked. The man leaned forward slightly. It isn't. The seal tore. Paper slid free. He unfolded it once. Then again. His eyes moved slowly at first, then faster. His breathing changed. Shallow. Uneven. Something in the room shifted. The man watched him closely now. No, he whispered. The word came out before he could stop it. No, he said again louder. This can't be right. He looked up. There's a name here, he said. And it's mine. The man nodded. There's more. He read on. Dates. Legal language. Signatures. Words like beneficiary, estate, contingency. His chest tightened. This is about money, he said. A lot of it. Yes. And ownership. Yes. And his voice faltered. A family, I was told, didn't want me. The man's expression hardened. Told by whom? He swallowed. By the only people I ever had. Silence fell again, heavier this time. The man stood. Then they lied, he said. He pushed a second document across the table. He didn't take it. What's the catch? He asked. There's always a catch. The man's gaze didn't soften. There is, he said. But it's not what you think. He stepped closer. Everything you read is real. Everything it promises is yours. But nothing changes unless you choose to step forward. He laughed once. Short. Disbelieving. Step forward into what? He asked. I can't even afford lunch. The man's voice dropped. You're standing inside the building that controls the future of thousands of people, he said. And every one of them believes you don't exist. He looked down at the paper again. Then why now? He asked. Why send this to me now? The man didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was quiet. Because the clock ran out, he said. And because someone else is already trying to erase you. The words landed hard. Who? He asked. Before the man could answer, a phone on the table began to vibrate. Once, twice. The man glanced at the screen. His jaw tightened. "It started," he said. "What started?" he asked. The man looked at him, eyes serious now. "The fight over whether you walk out of this building as a nobody," he said, "or as the problem no one downstairs is prepared to face." The phone kept vibrating, and for the first time, he understood. Opening the envelope hadn't changed his life. It had put him in danger. Phones started ringing across the building within minutes. Not loudly, not all at once. Just enough to create a nervous rhythm, buzzes, vibrations, hushed murmurs that followed him as they left the private floor through a side corridor most employees didn't know existed. He walked behind the older man now, not beside him. That detail mattered. They passed offices sealed behind frosted glass. Inside, silhouettes leaned toward screens, toward each other. Conversations stopped as they walked past. Heads turned. Eyes narrowed. Word was moving ahead of them. "Keep your head down," the man said without looking back. "And whatever you hear, do not react." "I don't even know what I'm reacting to," he said. "That's intentional." They turned a corner. Two men waited there. Both well-dressed. Both smiling too quickly. One stepped forward, hand extended. "There's been a misunderstanding," he said. "We should talk." The older man didn't slow. "Later," he said. The man's smile thinned. It would be unwise to proceed without clarity. They walked past anyway. The second man spoke, voice low. "This doesn't end the way you think." He felt it then. Not fear. Pressure. Like invisible hands closing in from every side. They entered a smaller conference room. No windows. Just a table, chairs, and a muted screen on the wall. "Sit," the older man said. He did. The door closed. The older man turned to him. "From this moment on, assume every word you speak will be repeated, accurately or not." "Who were those men?" "Gatekeepers," he said. "They decide who belongs before facts get a vote." "Why do they care about me?" The man didn't answer directly. Instead, he tapped the screen. It lit up with numbers, charts, names. "Everything you read in that envelope threatens an existing order," he said. "Money has momentum. Power has habits. You are friction." A knock at the door. Not waiting for permission, someone entered. A woman this time. Confident. Calm. The kind of person who never raised her voice because she never needed to. "Good," she said, looking only at the older man. "You're here." Then she noticed him. Her eyes paused, just for a fraction of a second. Then she smiled. "So this is him," she said. "He looks smaller than I imagined." He stayed silent. The older man folded his arms. "State your purpose." She pulled out a chair and sat anyway. "There's concern," she said. "Legal concern. Procedural concern. The board is uneasy." "Of what?" the man asked. "Of irregularities," she said smoothly. "Unverified claims. Documents surfacing without context." She looked at him again. "People pretending to be something they're not." The words were soft. They landed hard. He leaned forward before he could stop himself. "You sent it," he said, looking at the older man. "Right. Yes. So it is verified." The woman tilted her head. "Verification isn't truth," she said. "It's timing." The older man's jaw tightened. "You're early," he said to her. "That's reckless." "Or efficient," she replied. "He shouldn't be here." "He is." She smiled again. "For now." Silence thickened. She stood. "This doesn't need to be ugly," she said. "There are alternatives. Quiet ones." "Say it," the man said. She looked directly at him now. "A settlement," she said. "Generous. Life-changing. No press. No disruption." "And in return," he asked. She didn't hesitate. "You disappear." The word echoed. He felt his chest tighten. "Disappear how?" She shrugged. "Move. Start over. Be comfortable." The older man spoke sharply. "You're assuming he wants comfort." She laughed lightly. "Everyone wants comfort." Her eyes stayed on him, especially people who've never had it. Something burned behind his ribs. "I didn't ask for this," he said. "No," she agreed. You inherited it. The older man stepped forward. You're done here. She studied him a moment longer. Then she nodded. Think carefully, she said to him. People like you don't get many clean exits. She left. The door shut. The room exhaled. That was a test, the man said. They wanted to see if you'd flinch. I didn't even know what I was being tested for. Good. Another knock. This time, no one waited. A younger man entered, breathless. They're calling an emergency session, he said. Now. The older man closed his eyes briefly. They're moving faster than I expected. Is that bad? It means they're scared. They moved again, through hallways that seemed to shrink as they passed. Security appeared where there hadn't been any before. Smiles vanished. Eyes followed him openly now. In one hallway, he heard his name, whispered. In another, he saw his face on a tablet. A security feed paused, rewound. They're pulling everything, he said. Yes, the man replied. Including things you didn't know existed. What things? The man didn't answer. They entered a larger room. Long table. Too many chairs. People were already seated. All of them looked up. This time, no one laughed. The woman from earlier sat near the center. So, she said, let's begin. Arguments erupted immediately. Claims. Doubts. Legal language fired like weapons. He sat silently at the end of the table. Invisible again, but differently now. This is absurd. He has no experience. He's unverified. He's a liability. The words stacked. The woman raised a hand. Enough, she said. There's a simple solution. She turned to him. Stand up. He hesitated. The older man nodded once. He stood. Every eye locked on him. Tell us, she said gently, why you believe you belong here. He swallowed. I don't, he said. A ripple of surprise. She frowned slightly. I didn't come here to take anything, he continued. I came because something arrived in my mailbox that didn't make sense. He looked around the room. I was told my whole life that I didn't matter, that I was lucky to survive, that whatever I had, I should be grateful. He paused. And now you're telling me I matter too much. Silence. The woman leaned back. Emotion is compelling, she said, but irrelevant. The older man spoke. Then let's make it relevant. He slid a folder onto the table. Financial transfers. Trust movements. Shell accounts. The room stirred. These were activated the moment the envelope was opened, he said. Automated safeguards. That's impossible, someone said. Check, he replied. Screens lit up. Faces drained of color. That money is locked, the woman said sharply. It was, the man replied, until the rightful trigger was acknowledged. All eyes turned to him. He felt dizzy. I didn't do anything, he said. That's the point, the man replied. You existing was enough. Voices rose again. Louder now. Panicked. The woman stood. This meeting is adjourned, she said. We'll reconvene after council. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then the screen behind her changed. A name appeared. His. Followed by a title no one in the room had been prepared to see. The room froze. No one spoke. The woman stared at the screen. Slowly, she turned to look at him. And in her eyes, finally, was fear. Everything seemed about to collapse. The room didn't explode. It collapsed inward. No shouting. No objections. Just the sound of breathing changing as people reread what was already burned into the screen. His name. The title beneath it. Not honorary. Not symbolic. Binding. The woman's confidence didn't vanish all at once. It cracked in stages. First disbelief. Then calculation. Then the realization that neither would help. That designation is inactive, she said, too quickly. It hasn't been recognized in years. The older man didn't raise his voice. It was dormant, he said. Not void. Someone at the table scrolled frantically. Another whispered into a phone that wasn't connecting. A third stood, then sat back down as if his legs had stopped obeying. This changes nothing, the woman said, though her tone betrayed her. Titles don't equal control. No, the man agreed. But triggers do. He looked at him. Do you remember the clause you read and didn't understand? He asked. He nodded slowly. The one about contingency authority. That clause exists for one reason, the man said. Succession, without interference. The woman's eyes snapped back to the screen. You didn't just inherit assets, she said. You inherited timing. He felt the weight of the room shift again. What does that mean? He asked. It means, the older man said, that the moment you were identified, every delayed safeguard activated. Boards dissolved. Votes froze. Interim power transferred. To him, someone demanded. Yes. The word landed like a dropped glass. The woman laughed softly, but it sounded brittle. That's absurd. He's never even been inside this building. That, the man said, was intentional. He turned to him. They kept you out so you wouldn't learn how the game was played. So when the moment came, you couldn't be pressured to play it their way. The pieces began snapping into place. The envelope, the seal, the insistence that he open it inside the building. They mocked me, he said quietly. Yes, the man replied, because they thought humiliation would keep you small. The woman straightened. You're painting this as destiny, she said. It's not. It's manipulation. The man met her gaze. Then explain why you tried to buy his silence. Silence answered for her. A screen at the far end of the room changed again. Old footage. Security clips. A younger version of the older man standing beside another figure. Taller, sharper, unmistakably related. That's impossible, someone whispered. He died, another said. The older man spoke without looking at the screen. He disappeared, he said. There's a difference. He finally turned to him. The man you were told abandoned you, he said, built this contingency after he realized what this place would do to you if it knew you existed. His chest tightened. You're saying? He knew they'd use you, the man said, or erase you. So he made sure the only moment you could be found was the moment you couldn't be stopped. The woman stood abruptly. This is emotional theater, she snapped. None of this proves capability. The man nodded once. Agreed. He slid another document forward. Then let's discuss competence. The room leaned in despite itself. Every decision made in the last 10 years that stabilized this company, he said, passed through one anonymous channel. Charts appeared. Projections. Corrections that had quietly saved entire divisions. The woman stared. No, she said. The man turned to him. You thought you were surviving, he said. You were studying, observing, correcting from the margins. He shook his head. I never. You sent suggestions, the man said. Under different names. Through public forums. Regulatory comment portals. You thought no one listened. The screen highlighted patterns. His patterns. You weren't invisible, the man said. You were underestimated. The woman's voice dropped. So you groomed him. No, the man replied. He grew himself. We just watched. The room buzzed now. Not panic. Respect. Fear had turned into recalculation. The woman looked at him one last time. You could still walk away, she said. This place will destroy you. He met her gaze. It already tried, he said, and failed. The older man placed a hand on the table. The reveal is complete, he said. What happens next is choice. All eyes turned to him. He looked around the room that had laughed at him hours earlier. They weren't laughing now. They were waiting. And for the first time he understood. He hadn't been brought here to take revenge. He'd been brought here to take responsibility. The hardest part was still coming. Silence held for a long moment. Not the fragile kind. The heavy kind that follows a decision already made. He didn't raise his voice when he finally spoke. He didn't need to. I'm not here to burn this place down, he said. And I'm not here to run it the way it's always been run. Several people shifted in their seats. That should worry you, he added. The older man watched him closely now, not guiding, not interrupting, just listening. You built systems that reward comfort over truth, he continued. You laughed at what didn't fit your expectations. You erased risks instead of facing them. He looked directly at the woman. And you sold stability while quietly hollowing it out. She didn't respond. She didn't need to. The screens behind her changed again, this time to numbers that told a different story. Declining trust. Hidden losses. Deferred consequences. "I'm not firing anyone today," he said. "And I'm not making promises." Murmurs rippled. "But some of you will not be here next quarter," he continued calmly. "Not because I want revenge. Because this place cannot survive with people who confuse power for ownership." The words landed clean. No drama. No theatrics. Just inevitability. He turned slightly, addressing the room instead of individuals now. "There are people in this company who work twice as hard for half the credit," he said. "People you never learned the names of because they weren't sitting at this table." He paused. "That ends." The older man finally spoke. "Effective immediately," he said. "Authority transfers as outlined in the contingency." No objections came. Only nods. Paperwork began moving. Phones buzzed again, this time with a different tone. Not panic. Alignment. The woman gathered her things slowly. She didn't look at him as she stood. "I misjudged you," she said quietly. He met her eyes. "So did everyone else," he replied. She left without another word. The room thinned. Executives exited in pairs. Conversations were hushed now, not mocking, not dismissive. Careful. When the doors finally closed and only the two of them remained, the older man exhaled. "You handled that better than most people twice your age," he said. "I didn't feel steady," he replied. "That's what steadiness feels like," the man said. "It's fear that doesn't get the last word." He walked to the window. Below them, the city moved the way it always had. Unaware. Indifferent. "I don't know how to do this," he said. "You don't know how to pretend," the man corrected. "That's why it works." He turned. "They mocked you because you looked like a mistake," he said. "But the truth is, you were the correction." Later, as he stepped back into the lobby, the same marble floor greeted him. The same glass walls. But nothing else was the same. People didn't laugh this time. They stood straighter, moved aside, watched him pass with expressions that bordered on reverence. The guard nodded respectfully. The receptionist swallowed and lowered her eyes. He didn't look at either of them. He walked through the doors and into the daylight, the envelope now empty in his pocket. Not because he'd lost it, because he didn't need it anymore. He wasn't invisible. He wasn't broke. And he wasn't waiting to be chosen. If this story reminded you that quiet strength often hides in plain sight, share what moment stood out to you, and follow for more stories where patience becomes power.